So let's talk about Mars in Cancer. Mars is the planet of action and achieving results, and its energy is direct and confrontational. In Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is exactly the opposite, right? The moon is sensitive and it cares about its emotional well-being and the emotional well-being of loved ones. The moon is also indirect, and therefore the home has no place for confrontation or aggression, because that could hurt people's feelings. Now the moon also rules the mother, and the mother unconditionally accepts and appreciates her children, right? Love and acceptance is really paramount for the moon. The mother might have an opinion, and of course she needs to discipline the child and be dominant at times, but this is never done in a way that would really indicate a lack of love for the child. And so Cancer is really the place where everyone feels allowed for who they are, appreciated for who they are, and that is really the most important for the moon, and everything else is secondary. So now what happens when we put the strong and competitive Mars into this very soft-hearted environment? It is obviously a completely incompatible energy for Mars. Mars is trained to use his physical strength and mental strength to get what he wants. And now in Cancer, he has to be all touchy and consider other people's feelings and consider his own feelings more than actually his actions and results. And so that is not at all what Mars is. Mars likes to be direct. He likes to say things directly because it makes sense to him. And he also simply wants to get something done. And he doesn't mind if there is opposition. He, in fact, expects that there's some type of confrontation. But in Cancer, this is not allowed. Instead of taking direct action, he cannot move forward in his usual manner, right? He has to basically turn all his energy inward. And this is also what creates the infamous passive-aggressive attitude, right? He wants to be direct, but he's not allowed. And so he needs to tiptoe around issues that in actuality, since he's Mars, need to be tackled head on. And so he needs to hold back and do things what he usually would never do, which is to accept people for who they are. He needs to just be content with a situation without being able to improve it. And Mars is just not designed that way, and inevitably gets frustrated and has emotional outbursts once in a while. So how can a Mars in Cancer person achieve balance? Well, they need to go about their feelings in a way that it also gives a tangible result, right? They need to do actions that lead to a tangible results, but that are also emotionally driven, right? Perhaps the emotions can get channeled into a workout in a gym, right? That obviously also requires from them to put in a lot of their energy and effort and hopefully lead to the result of them becoming a very strong and fit person, right? So the idea is that they need to challenge themselves while also feeling deeply emotionally involved. Mercury is debilitated in the first 15 degrees in Pisces. So why is Mercury debilitated there? Well, Mercury rules our ability to use our intellect, to analyze a situation and make an informed decision. Pisces, on the other hand, is ruled by Jupiter, which depends on its intuition, and which has some type of ideal perspective on life. And so we can quickly see how this placement of Mercury can cause problems. Mercury wants things to be clear and make practical sense, but Pisces can be happy with an ideal or something that feels uplifting. And so Mercury's ability to make practical and sensible decisions can get lost when debilitated in Pisces, right? Because Mercury gets lost in daydreams, right? Rather than focusing on practical solutions, it might just get swept up in emotions and fantasies and vague ideas. And so just imagine, this Mercury in Pisces is a businessman, and he needs to come up with a reasonable plan and make smart business decisions. Well, this is definitely not going to happen. Mercury debilitated in Pisces is like, throwing your phone into the ocean and then, trying to read your email while the phone is underwater, right? It's all blurry and you cannot really see anything. Nothing is going to make sense anymore. And so this is basically how Mercury is going to feel like when in Pisces debilitated. The person might need to deal with all this paperwork or talk on the phone, but then they only really understand a fraction of what is written or said. And all the rest gets drowned in the ocean. So what's the solution for debilitated Mercury? Mercury here needs to balance its imagination with intellectual ability, right? They need to develop the intellect and learn to formulate their abstract and very unique concepts precisely and logically. Journaling can be very helpful for them, or other ways that help organize their thoughts so that they can express them effectively, right? They can't exclusively rely on their imagination. They need to back up their ideas with proper research, proper analysis, and then they can make sure that what they want to achieve is actually practical and not a mere fantasy.